On the phone line, normally at this time, we have 35th District Representative Drew McEwen, but he has ceded his time to Jim Walsh, representative in the 19th District from Aberdeen. Good morning, Jim.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There we go. Thanks for sitting in on Drew's time here, and we talk about things going on in the legislative session that impacts folks here in rural portions of Washington and in the 19th District here in the great state is much of the Aberdeen area, Grace Harbor. We heard you, Representative Walsh, early this morning as we were talking about the Marbled Murrelet and hearing some work, potential legislation being done on this one, and you were very passionate about reminding folks that it's the people that you work for and not the birds. Talk to me a little bit about the potential impact of this in the 19th and really your thoughts on as it stretches all the way back to that spotted owl conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, really this is spotted owl part 2. The marbled murrelet's a bird. It's kind of a cousin to a robin, and it is native to our area, but it's all along the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the spotted owl. It's been on the federal endangered species list for a while, and it was recently upgraded, I guess you call it, to endangered, and that kicked into effect a habitat conservation program here. And as with the spotted owl, the habitat conservation program means locking up public land, that is productive timberland.
Mm-hmm.
Locking it up means turning it off, means putting it out of production so that it will grow wild, and the trees will, and in theory give this bird more habitat. But as we saw with the spotted owl, the issues that cause the species trouble aren't always what the biologists think they are, because biologists tend to think, well, it's habitat, it's living space for the animal. And there are often other factors that are impacting the animal's population numbers. And that's very much the situation we have here. I mean, the local, the state level agency that's in charge of these programs is the Department of Natural Resources, DNR.
Mm-hmm.
And the DNR biologists, even they admit that their most ambitious efforts will probably not save the marbled murrelet. Their projections are the numbers are going to continue to go down, even with the habitat conservation program, even with locking up the land and putting it out of production. And so, really, I mean, I was frustrated by how we handled the spotted owl, and I'm kind of furious about how we're handling this marbled murrelet. I mean, if we know the program isn't going to save the bird anyway, why are we shutting down timber production? And we've already shut down so much. I mean, we're still living with the effects of the shutdown under the spotted owl. And I'd like to go back and walk some of that stuff back. I'd like to open up some of the land we shut down for the spotted owl since that deal didn't work. But no, now the bureaucrats at DNR want to shut down more land for this other bird.
Talk to me a little bit about the makeup of the 19th. I know there are very similar portions with us here in the 35th District, especially when it comes to timber. How has the 19th District been able to, as best it can, rebound from the 90s with the spotted owl, then moving up through into past the recession in 08 and now today?
Well, I wish I could say we did it. We've done it better. I mean, we've had real trouble, as Shelton and Mason County have had. I'm your immediate neighbor to the west. So the 35th district that Drew represents and Dan Griffey does, your district actually used to creep into Grays Harbor County a little bit. After the last redistricting, they changed the line there. But mine's the district that takes over right at the Grays Harbor County line.
Right.
And then goes out to the coast, and then down the coast, it's got Pacific County, so Long Beach and the peninsula down there. And then it cuts in along the Columbia River back to Longview and Kelso. So it's kind of the coastal corner of the state. And our economics, our demographics are very similar to yours. We've been struggling to rebound, and we're not there yet. We've lost several mills, and we've lost a big chunk of the timber industry that we used to have. That used to be the main driver. We've had a pretty good commercial fishing fleet out of Westport and Oahu, so that's kind of helped. But lately, they've been having trouble too. So we've been losing our two main traditional industries, and really the reason what I ran on, I was just elected in 2016, so this is my first term in office, and I just ran on really trying to recover some of those two industries, particularly our timber industry and our commercial fishing, and we got a lot of oysters and clams, so aquaculture in general. I'm trying to reclaim some of that industry and help push policy in Olympia that'll make it a little easier to bring some of that business back.
Looking at some of the bills that you have put your name on as primary sponsors behind, and talk to me about some of the ones that you feel encouraged could really help out our rural areas. Looking at House Bill 2133, rural food and forest products. Also the interesting on the House Bill 1497, which is also co-sponsored by Representative Griffey on this coal electricity conversion. Talk to me about some of these bills that you've sponsored this session, and what your thoughts for potential passage could be.
Well, thanks for asking. Those are both pretty good bills, and I have a couple others like them. The first one you mentioned, 2133, is a bill that targets two industries in particular: food processing, and my interest is primarily the seafood processing.
Yeah.
And wood products or timber products processing. So what the bill does is it targets those two sectors, those two industries, and it exempts them from certain Department of Ecology solid waste and wastewater permit guidelines. So it allows them a little more flexibility in developing or expanding operations, and we're talking about basically manufacturing here. It allows them to expand their operations without having to jump through quite so many hoops at the Department of Ecology. And it's still live. I mean, we're getting close to the cutoff here for this session for new bills.
Yeah.
But it's on the list, and it should get a debate and a floor vote. And really, what it is it's a template. If this bill gets through, and if this bill works, which I think it will, it's the kind of bill that we could repeat. We could basically pop in other targeted industry sectors that we want to encourage to develop in rural Washington, and pass future bills that would help those industries. But for now, it's the two traditional industries that we've had on the coast. And the idea really is, it's to attract new business to the area, but even more so, it's to encourage existing industry to expand by giving them a break on some of the permitting requirements and ecology. We hope they would expand their existing operations to add more jobs and add more production.
So this is your first term in the legislature. What got you involved? What got you decided to run this time?
Really, my frustration with how we haven't been as aggressive in our part of the state in negotiating things like policy at the Department of Ecology, policy at the Department of Natural Resources, policy at Fish and Wildlife, State Fish and Wildlife. These agencies have really overreached, in my opinion, over the last, 6 or 10 years particularly. And I really want to try to rein these guys in. We've already been able to sort of do some good at Fish and Wildlife. The former director stepped down. There's an interim now, but they're looking for a new director. And that should help that agency, which has been really troubled in the last 3, 4, 5 years, maybe find some new direction and clean up its act, which will be a good thing. And I hope that we can effect the same kind of reform and change at ecology.
Jim Walsh represents the 19th District. You can find more about him on his website, jimwalsh.houserepublicans.wa.gov. I'll post that link as I get ready to post this interview up on our website. It was really nice talking with you and meeting you here this morning, Jim, and get back out there and do the people's work, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk again.
And we'll do just that, and I'll be happy to pinch hit for Drew anytime, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, sir.